Welcome back to Inside the Wolf's Den, where we explore the world of real estate and property management to help you thrive in today's market. We are your hosts, Sean and Joni Wolfswinkle, and today we're diving into a topic that many property managers and landlords are too familiar with: navigating a slow leasing season. Whether you're facing a seasonal slump or a market turndown, we've got expert insights and strategies to help you compete and succeed. So to kick things off, let's discuss the challenges of a slow leasing season. When demand is low and competition is high, it can be tough to attract and retain quality tenants, right? Mm-hmm. So vacancies linger, rental income drops, and pressure mounts to all those, right?
Correct. I think that's what everybody, if you hear the topics in a lot of the chat room groups that we're a part of and Facebook groups, it's all about, things are taking a lot longer. People are, and I was listening or hearing a podcast the other day about this we were talking in a mastermind about this right before COVID hit. Mm-hmm. We were thinking things are going to slow down. It's been, everybody's aware it was a long run of very good, successful times, right?
Absolutely. And to be honest with you, we were spoiled.
Very spoiled.
Very spoiled the last couple of years.
Because I don't want people to tune out if you're not a property manager or in real estate. Just
in sales in general.
Correct. This applies, I think, this strategy, because there's seasons you're going to go through in any industry. And so we've all been in a very good season for many years. After 2008, it was rough times for a lot of people. And then we had a really good run for a very long time. And we were waiting for when's things going to break. And then we thought COVID hit. That's it. Everything's going to crash. And then real estate took off. It was just
stronger than ever. Yeah. It was
of all the money the government pumped in. But, and so now in the last year or so, you've seen rents drop. You've seen vacancies climb, you've seen cap rates drop, you've seen, and so, I think there's been declines in some markets in residential real estate, but also commercial for sure. There's been some big declines. And so what do you do during these times? And we kind of just want, and it's funny too, because what bugs me a lot of times is you go to groups or you hear people chatting. It's like, if you really look at majority of the people and you look at the people that had all this success and all that, they got in within the last, 10 years?
Right.
Is when they started their businesses. There's very few, and they're called the OGs, the people that are really in the room, and you go to some of these rooms or masterminds that have been around, prior to 2008, and the people that did survive 2008, still probably have some scars on their, wearing 100%. Some scars. They understand, ups and downs, and
they've been through it, so they've adapted a few times.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah. And so it doesn't matter what market, what type of industry you're in, you have ups and downs, and it's, and that's what's being a good investor is all about is, it's how do you make money in any type of market conditions?
No matter where the market is.
Correct. I mean, absolutely. Because what people have gotten spoiled is on, they just think that they buy a property, it's going to appreciate and the market goes up and they look great. And that's what everybody thinks, but that's not being a true investor. You got to either create forced appreciation. You got to, the market might go up, but that's not the only reason you do it. You got to get a return on your capital. So whether it's, in this case, it's rental real estate. So you're getting cash flow from rent. But that's being a good, astute investor and being able to weather ups and downs and knowing those times are going to come and go. And correct. So it usually corrects. This one was a much longer period than most people have ever seen.
Yep.
And so,
and this topic came about because we are hearing a lot more of, man, my properties are taking longer to lease. Well, what does that mean really? How long? Is it 30 days? But I mean, I think it's something that a lot of people are struggling right now with, whether it's leasing or selling, right? And so that's why we're doing this podcast, is to kind of shed some light on maybe what are some strategies out there so you can compete in a slow leasing season or selling season. That's
funny that you say that, because I mean, we had to get on calls, or you and I get involved in certain situations where it's because things aren't leasing. And a lot of times it's, Sometimes it's it's maybe something we messed up on. I'm not saying we're perfect, or it's something that it's priced too high in most cases.
And honestly, that's the biggest thing, is that I think that, again, we were spoiled, right? There is so many more to choose from. And so, we could set our prices. And now that there's not a whole lot of residents out there, we are having to do some price adjustments. And so we're having to reset those expectations with our team, with our owners, and I mean, it's the reality of it.
And it's difficult because they don't like to hear those. A lot of people bought stuff and thought it's just going to go up and up and up to the right. And it's not always the case. And so they're going to really, I think some of them were sold on expectations of certain rental numbers that aren't accurate.
Right.
And so it's resetting everything.
Yeah.
And like you said, resetting those. And there's a gap. There's a period of time where, okay, here's the really good time. Here's this gap where things are changing, and we got to weather through that gap. And
correct.
Until everybody's expectations are, okay, I'll accept it. It is where it is. I need to drop my price.
And that's the thing. And they are going to accept it. I think a lot of times we get scared to, we don't want to deliver the bad news to them that their property, maybe is not going to get X amount, but at the end of the day, like, you're doing a disservice to your clients if you don't give them that information, because one month's rental income, or 2 months or 3 months, what is that costing your return on your investment? Right. And so you really need to look at that.
So get into some of the strategies. So what are you advising to some of your clients, as far as what they should do? How can they get their property leased as quickly as possible? What are you doing with your own properties? That we have a ton that are vacant right now that we need to lease. So what are you doing for your own properties?
Yeah, I mean, I think number one, we need to talk about like what's differentiating yourself from your competition. What is your competition doing versus what you can be doing? How does your property look? Right. And so I have a lot of owners that are like, I don't want to spend the money on the make ready or do those sorts of things. I can tell you right now that my new construction are leasing a lot quicker than my older properties. Why? Because they are renovated. They're newer. Right. And so doing the upgrades to your older homes, those fixtures and upgraded paint, all those things to make it look more modern.
Yeah. Our make ready department goes through a pretty extensive list that they go through and go with the owner. And a lot of times they're having to combat owners that are saying, no, take off that, take off this. And it's like, well, and they get to a point where they can do some of it, but it's like they get to a point where like, hey, we can't do this, or else your property ain't going to lease. Right. Or it's not going to lease for what you think
exactly.
it is.
If you want to lease it the way it is right now, then you better drop your price in order to lease it.
We're not in the time where you can get away with doing the bare minimum, and then demanding the highest amount. Those days are over. Oh my gosh.
Remember we used to talk about that in like the flips, right? Yeah. Like there was a time where we could, slap some paint on the wall and then put the property on the market and then it would sell, right? It's the same thing.
For top dollar. Yeah. And because it was so competitive. But then now it's the time where you have to be an expert. You had to be everything has got to be perfect. So your house got to be everything's
got to look good.
Yeah, you can't do shoddy paint work, where there's paint on the baseboard, paint on the door frames. You can't have that paint going over the plate covers, electrical plate. Yeah. It's got to be a professional paint job. It's got to look clean. The house got to be clean. You can't have stains in your carpet. No. All that stuff's got to be taken care of on the front end.
Yeah. And also you want to attract the right tenant that's going to take care of your property too. So if you are going to lease it the way it is, messy, unclean, all of those things, then most likely you're going to find a tenant
has bad credit.
Exactly. That is going to be just as bad. Yeah. Messy and
if they're willing to accept it in that condition, you can imagine what they're going to do to your home.
Exactly.
Or they have really poor credit, or slow paying.
Right. And you're stuck with them.
And they just needs a house. So,
you're stuck with them.
So address some of the issues up front, and modern appliances, fresh paint. Great curb appeal, because number one, he's got to get in the front door to just start
100%.
You can't have overgrown grass and can't see the front door because of the trees, the bushes. It's got to be clean up front, inviting into the home, and then clean inside and updated. Yeah. So some other things is, I think, working with a professional, and I'm not just saying that because we own property management companies, there's some benefits that property management companies can offer that I don't think the individual investor overlooks that makes you competitive in this space. And so there's some things, the cool things like, so not unless you're big enough, you're probably not doing
Obligo, which no security deposit options.
Yeah.
Right.
So if I have the availability to rent one house and my neighbors, and we're the exact same house, exact same price, but mine offers you to get in the home for $140 security deposit option and then the first month's rent, and you're over here asking for 1 or 2 months security deposit plus the first month's rent. That's like a $2,000 or $3,000 difference in upfront cash to get into the home. So
correct.
Who are they going to go with?
Yeah.
And so if there's some advantages to a property manager will have. We have,
and then also to mention, the perks that the tenants get, right? Sure. So we have a program called our Residence Benefits Package where they get air filters, they get, perks from, Piñata, other things in there that most people don't have access to.
Correct.
Right.
So,
and tenant insurance. It's a big deal.
Insurance, filters shipped to them. So it's more of a professional environment or than they're going to get from just somebody that's trying to do DIY, rent themselves,
right. Being able to pay your rent online. That's huge, right?
Yeah. They mail a check or, what is it? Oh, never mind. Sally or whatever.
And I love that we're talking about this because I think that, there are a lot of people still that believe in this. They want to self-manage or they think that they're going to save a buck by hiring. And I don't mean realtors. A lot of times they take on, property management accounts. They don't have the proper insurance, those sorts of things. Right. And that's really a disservice to that client.
Yeah. And it's not until something goes wrong, which if you do this long enough, you will have something that's going to go wrong.
Lawsuits and other sorts of things that happen.
So until somebody gets hurt, there's something, you probably want to make sure that you're dealing with a professional that has everything, the proper insurance, there's somebody that just deals in property management on day to day.
Right, that's all
not
they
a realtor that just was selling houses yesterday.
Is slow, so I decided to do property management until the market comes back, right? Yeah. That's not who you want.
Correct. Some other incentives and strategies during the slow leasing season. Hey, like Joni mentioned earlier, if you go an extra month without leasing that property, how much are you going to lose in revenue? Or if it goes 2 months, you've just lost your profit probably for the year.
And these are conversations that I have, daily with my investors because, when you put it in that perspective, it's a lot of it's hard to recoup that compared to, a $25, price reduction or $50 price reduction, right?
Correct. And then offering incentives, right? So what I was getting at was like rent discounts, move-in specials, being flexible on, maybe depending on the leasing season, you might do, if you're renting in December, you might do an 18-month lease or you might do a 6-month lease just to get them in case it renews back into the 100%. So, being flexible sometimes on your terms and then also offering some
incentives. Yep. And that's something that we are actually heavily, doing right now. And I remember back in the day, we used to do the move-in specials with the sign writers, like, half off the first month's rent, those sorts of things. And
I think you say that we haven't done that yet.
Again, we talked about going back to the basics, right? I think we got so spoiled throughout the years where we're just putting the property on the market and things just move. Now you got to get back out there, guys. Like, do the things that actually got you to where you're at right now.
You didn't even have to put a sign or anything.
No. But we used to put the writers on there, half off their first month's rent, and they used to make the phone ring.
Correct. That's a good point. But if you want to listen to episode 144, we talked about going back to the basics. And I think even in 186 about disruption in the business world, we got into a lot about that, just going back to the basics, focusing on what got you to where you are. So I think so that would be everything from not skipping steps on your make-readies, rehabs, not skipping steps on your screening process.
Right.
And then, like Joni said, like being spot on with your photos, with your signs, with your curb appeal. Everything's got to be perfect to attract. So once that
balloons, banners, streamers, just kidding. Whatever it takes,
open houses.
Open houses.
Just getting back to the cold, just picking up the phone and working those leads.
Yeah. And that's a good point because I remember that, text messaging used to do really well, right? They're getting the text messages and you can respond to that. I'm finding now that our team is having a hard time getting them to respond to text. And so they're actually going back to calling.
Yeah.
Right?
That's a good idea. Yeah, no, absolutely. So it was once that, hey, email didn't work, but text works great. And now text, going back to old school picking up the phone. And that's hard for a lot of people today to pick up the phone. Trust me. We had a conversation we had with all our employees daily about just pick up the phone and call them. Did you call them? No, I emailed them. Pick up the phone and call them. You'll get somebody. You'll get an answer. So let's talk about some of the marketing and outreach strategies now that we're on that subject. How can property managers effectively reach and engage potential tenants in a slow leasing season?
Yeah. So we talked about being creative, right? Going back to the basics, being a little bit and being persistent and, picking up that phone. And I think that's a conversation that I have with my team all the time. Like it's a pursuit of, hey, a lead is not dead until they tell you, hey, move, stop calling me. Like get the F, right? But really you should be calling them at least 14 times before you consider it a dead lead.
Correct.
And that's the persistency that you need to be able to get these.
I think that's the biggest thing is being consistent and persistent. Very politely pushy.
Yeah.
And you have to get them to just see the unit, to apply. Nobody's doing things especially now in the winter, in a slow leasing season because of the economy. Now is the time you really have to be aggressive on your leads and be overly persistent.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually getting out there and showing it. I know that that's hard for a lot of people because we went through these self-showing lock boxes, which has helped a lot, right? But at the same time, I do think that you need some human touch to be able to get them in the door. Right. And so we are utilizing our realtors heavily. Like, let's get them back out there, get them showing these properties. I don't care if I have to pay a commission. Yeah. It's a lot better than having to sit on a property for a long period of time. Or the owner terminates because he can't lease it. Yeah.
Some other things we do that I think is working is we're really dialing in our, especially on the multifamily space.
Social media.
Yeah. So we put together a marketing playbook that we utilize and show our clients, especially as we onboard them, what we're doing to market your property. And so it's important because they want to see, because their biggest frustration right now is hey, everybody's biggest frustration is leasing. So,
and what are you going to do for me? How are you going to get me to?
And so we're showing that, hey, we're creating websites for even small,
C-class properties, right?
We're creating websites for 20-unit apartment complexes. We're creating, and they're professional. They have Google. We get reviews, Google reviews for them, build out a history with them. People can see them. They get more credibility online, and then posting them. So we post them on social media pages.
Yeah, and that's another thing.
Everywhere.
Creating a Facebook page, right, for that complex, and really just blasting, every day. Posting videos, posting your rent specials. So you got to get your on-site managers or your vendors or whatever just to create a quick video once a day, just saying, hey, guys, sunny day, look at the pool. Look at this brand new renovated unit, how sweet it is, and the stainless steel appliances and granite countertops. Check it out, apply today. Yeah. And just you post those daily, right? Yep. And then sharing that with the rest of the groups. There's tons of Facebook groups out there, and if you're leasing apartments or whatever, and you share them to all the groups, right? And even Facebook Marketplace, posting it, showing it is another good place. Absolutely. But just really targeted and if you're running larger complexes, of course, you're going to get into rentals, apartments.com, Zillow listings and all that. Right. And these are going to have to be paid. These are going to cost you money, but if you put it into the marketing budget for the complex and all that, these are great ways to get leads. And the more leads you can generate, and then you have a persistent team behind it, leasing team behind it, sales team, you'll get these leased. 100%. Showing, I think, the amenities, right? I think so we're doing virtual tours with media. So there's still people that don't like to go watch.
how do I say this right? People will take the least path of resistance,
Yeah,
right? If you noticed, we just went through Black Friday, and in-store sales like really didn't grow much, but online sales grew tremendously for Black Friday or what's it called? Cyber Monday.
Cyber Monday.
And it's because people, I think it's just so easy that people can say, I can just go online and buy it and have it shipped right
Well,
to my
I
door.
mean, we're finding, I don't know how many like times during the week that my team is doing virtual tours.
Yeah.
You know, like people that are moving from out of state, they can't see it at that moment, and so they're doing virtual tours.
So whether that's using 3D virtual tours with a Matterport or doing Zillow has its own feature now that you can do 3D tours where they can walk through the whole entire unit or house and do a total tour of a home. So it's something to take advantage. Again, these are things though that maybe the individual landlord is too much or think that, but if you get a professional that does this on a daily basis, these are the things that you're going to do to differentiate yourself from the market's getting saturated with
Absolutely,
rentals.
it is.
On all
I mean,
sectors.
if you just search your zip code, you can see all the rentals. I'm like, man, like is so many right now.
So you got to stand out and make a compelling argument why they should check out yours over others. So
absolutely.
and it starts off with your online presence for sure. That's where you're going to get it. MLS, we're in all our markets, we put everything on MLS. So you won't be able to do that unless you're a licensed broker, but that's something you're going to really, again, generates leads, we do a lot of engagement locally. So, you know, we consider ourselves the local experts in property management. So in both of our markets, we are in BNI groups, we're in you speak
all sorts of meetup groups in the city. I mean, it's
we sponsor a lot of events, but it's just to get exposure so that when you get in front of that owner that needs to lease his home, or you get in front of that resident that's looking for a place, there's an opportunity to get more leads and get more presence. So
absolutely
increase your visibility for sure and build rapport with potential renters. You got to have some kind of CRM to follow up with them. So if you don't have we have a property management software that keeps track of all of them, gets guest cards, and we just pound them. And then the next available unit in that market, we're going back to all those people that are in that looked in that zip code. And because they might not like that house, but they might like the next one.
Absolutely. And that's a good point there.
Again, it goes back to working with an expert, working with somebody that has that capability. So as we wrap it up, what final words of wisdom do you want to have for property managers, investors, maybe just business owners when they're going through a slow
I mean, season? I think number one, how are you going to differentiate yourself from your competition, right? What are you going to do better than your competition? Yeah. Right.
Yeah. I think perseverance is key. I think that's perseverance wins. It always wins in the long run. So you
consistency,
perseverance, and being proactive, being adaptable. And just being attentive.
I think that's key right there. Being adaptable, I think, is if you, the market's always going to be changing and you have to be willing to adapt, study the market, know what's going on in your market because it's always changing.
Correct.
Right. And I think also the last point I will make is work on your retention, your customer experience as well, because you do not want to lose your tenants during this time because it's going to be awfully hard to find new ones. So when I have conversations with my owners, say, you know what, this tenant's been a pain in the A, like I want to get rid of them. Yeah. Well, think long and hard about that. Yeah, they may be a little bit much, right? But I'd rather keep them for a little longer until we get through this season. Right. And so because it costs, if you think about the cost of finding a new tenant, the cost of doing a make ready, right, and the cost of, hey, it can be on the market for a little bit, loss of rental income, all that adds up and it's not worth it.
Correct.
So if you can get even an incentive, and if your tenants say, you know what, I am not going to move over, or they don't want to do a $25 increase or something like that, right? Chances are they are going to do that because it's a lot more expensive for them to move as well. So,
I think just offering, we talk about it on the show all the time, exceptional customer service. And
outperform competition.
Just focusing on the service that you leveling up your level of service. And that goes with the resident as well. And just being proactive on your communication, maintaining the communication throughout the whole process. Whether it's on the marketing side or whether it's on the, helping them find the property the right property, applying for the right property, the application, all that, you want to make sure you have a really solid playbook for how you're onboarding a tenant as well.
Yeah.
And providing that level of service so that they have a good experience, they stay with you, they stay long.
Yeah, and keep in touch with your residents too. Who knows? They might need a move because they need a bigger space. Don't lose them. If they're a good tenant, keep them in your, I'm sure you can find something for them in your portfolio.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah. It's just being attentive to their needs. Or it might just be something that they just want, like the carpet replaced, and and they may pay an extra $25 a month.
And you should have somebody in your tenant relations department that is speaking to them regularly, just like we have customer service advisors that speak to our owners and investors regularly. That's what you do want to do with your tenants.
Correct. And so last words of advice is just roll up your sleeves and get to work. Work your butt off, because that's what it's going to take to weather through this storm and emerge on the other side stronger, because the people that do survive these times and do weather these times are going to come out a lot stronger than the rest of the pack.
100%.
And they're going to kill their competition.
Yep.
So go slay the dragon and kill them, kill your competition, and just work your butt off, because it will get brighter on the other side. So
awesome.
All right.
Well, hope you enjoyed this episode, and reach out to us if you need anything.
Awesome. We'll see you all next week, guys.
See you guys.
You've been listening to Inside the Wolf's Den, an entrepreneurial journey with Sean and Joni Wolfswinkle. Tons of entrepreneurial podcasts are out there, talking. But Joni and Sean are living it every single day. Their portfolio now includes many franchises and medium-sized businesses. We talk about the trials and motivators of successfully running a business. Join us again soon for another podcast. But until then, reach out on the website at InsideTheWolfsDen.com, on Facebook at Inside the Wolf's Den, on Instagram at Inside the Wolf Den. We'll see you again soon. This is Inside the Wolf's Den. We'll see you next time.